Hello, I'm Andrew Miller from Andrew Miller Photography, and I've been photographing weddings full-time, paying the mortgage full-time professionally for 13 years. And I'm here today because every now and again I pick up a list of questions from people on my Facebook page, website, when they're booking me, that kind of thing. So this is just to help some of those people answer some of those questions. And there's also a few very frivolous questions about me, so let's crack on. Really good question. I much prefer to use Google reviews. I think Google reviews have a better standing within brand image, brand recognition. People use Google reviews more. Facebook reviews have a horrible reputation for being able to be faked. You can go online, buy a couple of hundred Facebook reviews, get 5-star reviews, and you've only been in business a couple of weeks, days, months, whatever. And they're also easy for people to troll. So if you'll get the odd person who's having a really bad day, they'll go on and leave you a 1-star review, and that's it. Whereas Google checks their reviews a lot more diligently, and I personally think that Google reviews are just more professional. And I think I was looking at some stats last week, and I did my 479th wedding yesterday. I started 26 years ago with a military photography course, and as soon as you've done a photography course, it doesn't matter what it is in the military, you start to be asked to do certain types of photography, so events, weddings, that kind of thing. I don't have what I would call a defined style, so I'll do a mixture of styles. So first thing in the morning for preparations, whether it's grooms, whether it's brides, I'm going to do some product type photography of all of the little details. Rings, shoes, perfume, aftershave, shoes for the guys, watches for the guys, that kind of thing. Dresses, suits. I'll then do a whole lot of documentary, candid, natural, reportage, whatever you call it, photography of the people getting ready. When we're in a church or a civil service, I'm pretty much doing whatever I'm allowed to do, and that's down to the vicars and the registrars. But again, that's completely documentary. Moving on from there, I like to do a lot of what I call created moments. So I'll take the couple away, we'll go for a walk, whether it's around the venue inside, whether it's outside. And I'm going to use a Welsh word here for those that are viewing in English. Word is cwtch, and the word cwtch in Welsh means a lot of things. It means you just get together, cuddle, hug, that kind of thing. And that's what opposed to me is. I want a couple to look completely natural. So when I just say cwtch, it means just get together as you normally would. And some couples are really overly affectionate, they can't keep their hands off each other. Others don't like public displays of affection, and that's absolutely fine, because when they get the wedding photographs, they look like the couple should be. They don't look overly faked and overly posed. So that's sort of the most part of it. I like to do a few sort of staged shots, and I use a lot of artificial lights. I use a lot of flash units, I use a lot of coloured gels, just to add a little bit of extra sparkle to the images. It's not to make money, which a lot of other photographers think it is. It's to give something back to younger photographers, younger people in the industry. And when I say young, I don't mean age, I mean new entrants into that. I've been really lucky to have a fantastic business out of it for 13 years, and I think giving some of that skill set back is really important from professionals who are established and can help. Part of that, I'm also business mentor for Business Wales. So if you're in Wales and you want mentoring with regards to your photography business, wedding photography in particular, but I also do other kind of creative industries, you get the coaching and mentoring completely free. That to me is giving something back, because I've had a lot from this industry. So I run the courses to give it something back. It covers the costs. I don't make a living from it. I'm still a working wedding photographer at heart. Because they're mine. Yeah, they're mine. I don't share them. It's on my website, I don't share them. I'm soon going to put it into my contract that I don't share them. I do share them with other wedding suppliers perhaps, because Jaffa cakes to me are one of those things that you use a lot of energy doing a wedding. Yesterday's wedding, I did 10.5 miles, 4,000 calories, and you certainly don't eat or drink 4,000 calories worth of food. So the Jaffa cakes provide a constant source of just keeping you up to date doing stuff like that. I did offer to share my Jaffa cake with a lovely little flower girl called Mia. She was a little bit shy. She did take some photos yesterday. but on the whole, they're mine. I spent 12 years in the army, and being in the military you have to have really short hair. I'm rather lucky that at the age of 51 I don't have a receding hairline, I'm not bald, so I'm growing my hair and it's part of my personality. It allows me to be what I want to be. I don't need to worry about what anybody else thinks. One of the things I often see at weddings is young children, so 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, that kind of thing, and they stand there to do group photographs, and the mums and dads are get your hands out your pockets, stand up straight, smile at the camera, and they're really sort of, they're forcing the children to be something that children aren't, and certainly not the personality of the child. So one of the reasons, or one of the ways I use to get around that, is to sort of do a little bit of a swap. I take over, so take your hands out your pockets, kids. Look sweet. If you want to pull faces, it's absolutely fine. You play to the camera. And part of that, if you do that for me, I'll let you come along, grab hold of my camera and take some photos at the wedding. Because when that child starts to grow up and they start to get in front of the camera and then they potentially get married, if mums and dads and grands and granddads have forced them to stand there and do the big cheesy smile, they're going to hate their photographs when they're married. Photographing people should be completely natural, so the more natural I can help the children be, it's better. I also think it's a fantastic thing for kids to do. It's nice and creative. Picking a camera up that's a really small Fuji like this, push the red button, set everything to auto, push the red button. It's fabulous. There's nothing wrong with kids doing something like that. Part of what I like to do with my wedding couples is get to know them really well. So on the day, they know me, they know my sense of humour, they know pretty much everything that's going to happen with regards to their wedding. One, I can walk the couple around the wedding venue and we can start thinking about what happens if it starts to rain. I've carried umbrellas in my car for the whole summer because I've never been quite sure. Yesterday, for instance, it was on and off all day. Having that wet weather plan gives the couple a lot more security that they know what I'm doing and they know what's going to happen if it does rain, and we can still get great photographs. I use it to get to know them, their personality. I use it to make sure that I know how comfortable they are with each other. And if they're really uncomfortable in front of a camera, we'll do 2, 3, I don't care how many of these pre-wedding shoots we'll do, so that I want their photos to look as completely natural as possible. And the only way you can do that is to be photographed by a friend. And part of those pre-wedding shoots is for me to become a friend of theirs, not just I turn up 2 years after they've booked me with longer hair that's probably white, and I'm still going around thinking, I can't remember who the bride was when I first met them. And it's one of the reasons why I meet couples face to face anyway, so that we get to know each other a little bit more. So it's not about not charging for them, it's about making sure that I get the best photographs that I want and the couple want. Probably about 10 to 15, but it's spread over a 12 to 14 hour day. Ish. It depends whether or not I have suppliers who steal my Jaffa cakes because they run out of mini cheddars. Mentioning no names, Wharfie Films. I go for a walk in the hills. I enjoy, got a dog called Vespasian. The reason he's called Vespasian is that the commander of the 2nd Legion, 2nd Augusta Legion, that conquered this part of South Wales was called Vespasian. He then went on to become an emperor, so we like to tie our dogs' names to something that means part of the area, so Vespasian or Vespa. Love to walk him. I love to go out onto the hills, stick a rucksack on and just walk for miles. It's one of the things that I do. I can completely clear my head, and I do a lot of talking to myself, mainly because Vespasian doesn't understand really what I'm saying, and if he did, I'd be shit scared because he'd come back and start answering me in English. But it's a great way just to relax. You don't need to worry about anything else. You can't get a mobile phone signal, you can't do any emails, you can't answer telephone calls, and it's a fantastic headspace clearer. I use Fujis. Why? Because they are much cheaper than Canons, Nikons, although they've just brought out mirrorless. I've been using them for about 4 years. Started with the XT1s, then the XT2s, and I'm now on the XT3s. They are nice and light, they do exactly what I want them to, and for the tech that you get, they are much cheaper than the full frame DSLRs from Nikon or Canon. And to be honest, when you get to a particular age, you start feeling the weight of the cameras. And when you have a very long 70 to 200mm lens on it, you put a flash on the top of that, they're heavy. So you start to feel it in the bones. And part of that move to mirrorless is that they're just nice and light. So it was more of a personal thing rather than a financial. But financial, yeah, they just work for where I need them to. If the couple want me there, yes. I tend to leave an hour or so after the first dance, unless we're doing fireworks, unless we're doing a sparkler exit, unless the couple want something nice and big and significant with the lights and the venues and stuff like that. But every client's different. I think the longest wedding I've done was about 18 hours, height of summer, and again, really early start. Gets dark at about 10 o'clock and then you've got fireworks, etc. So I don't really care. If you want me there all day, you'll get me all day. I'm a gobshite. I'll move on. I am, in personality assessment terms, Myers-Briggs type indicator, a very, very strong extrovert. And extroverts like to get their energy from being around people, being with people. So at a wedding, I'm not the quietest guy because I'm not the guy in the corner that will start taking photographs of the bride crying because something's going wrong, thinking, oh, that's going to be an award-winning photograph. I'll put the camera down and I'll try and help. And I'm just being me. No, I coach, mentor, ad hoc a very young videographer. Hi, Ashley. I was asked yesterday if I wouldn't mind doing some coaching and mentoring for a lady based in Wales who has got a dog walking, dog sitting business. And that's absolutely fine. And I think it's not so much about doing the photography, I think it's about the business aspect of it and thinking that younger people need to be aware that they want somebody who can communicate on their level. They don't want some stuffy little fart who's never run a little business for themselves, who doesn't understand how small businesses work, which is what I do. And as I said, if you go through Business Wales, you get it for free. So if you want coaching and mentoring and you live in Wales, crack on. Otherwise, sadly, you'll pay for it in England. Tough one, it's either Singapore or Lake Erie in the States. That's a stupid question, I can't remember who asked that, but duh. Jaffa cakes have actually got more nutritional value, more calorific value, they taste better, you can freeze them and they taste fantastic. Jaffa cakes go with ice cream, and I've got shares in McVitie's. I don't have shares in McVitie's, that was just a bit of a joke, but I need to buy shares in McVitie's. Full self-disclosure, feminine hygiene products. It's not that I'm quite cheap, I just know how much I need to earn to pay my car, my mortgage, my bills, all of that kind of thing, and I'm comfortable with what I charge. It's not that I'm cheap, I'm just comfortable with what I charge. If people don't book me because they think I'm cheap, I think they're missing out on a great photographer. Sadly, yes. I need to be able to get on with a couple pretty much straight away within the first 5-10 minutes, and I'll drive a long way to see a couple face to face. It's really important for me, it's my working day. If we can't get that instant connection within 5 to 10 minutes of us meeting, 18 hours at your wedding is going to be an absolute nightmare for you and me. There's also sort of a list of things that I look for when I'm shooting a wedding. I love family photos, I love group photographs, and if all you want to do is just get drunk, have a party, and do lots of documentary candid, I'm not really the photographer for you. If I get a couple whose personality isn't quite working with me, it's better to turn them down rather than taking the wedding, photographing it, and then being disappointed that their photos don't sparkle, there's nothing there, there's no charisma from them because I've not been able to make a connection. And I prefer to turn down the money and not pay the mortgage rather than take the money and potentially go through all of that heartache that the couple are not happy with the photographs. It's around about between 33, 36. Again, it depends on how many couples book me at what particular price, that kind of thing. Because I've got this idea in my head that I know how much I need, how much is enough for me. That's more important to me than just bringing, wedding after wedding after wedding, and then going online and bragging about it. I've just done my 70th wedding, or I did 65 weddings. I'd prefer just to keep a really small number of weddings, pay all of the bills, do all of the stuff that I need to do on a personal level, go on holiday, camp, whatever, and be happy with what I'm doing and not be stressed about stuff. Go on a business course. That is the thing. If you're going to do this as a business, you need to know how to run a business. You might be the world's best photographer, videographer, creative artist, whatever you call yourself. If you can't make money from it, all you're doing is investing in a lot of equipment that's going to get sold on eBay while you start working for Tesco's because you can't make the business work. Get the business focus sorted out. You will make money on it. And sort of thinking that further on, for me, I want you to make money because you're paying my pension, you'll be paying my care fees. It's important for me that young photographers make money. It's not about going out and saying, can I second shoot for you and learn from you? Second shooting is just one part of it. The photography is a small part of running a photography business or a videography business. It's how to edit, it's how to run a business, it's how to market, it's how to use social media, it's how to put contracts together, it's how to communicate with couples, it's how to calm couples down. There's a whole lot more that goes involved rather than just pushing the shutter. I've already mentioned I love family group photographs. I come from a very large family, so I know what big families are like. Group photos shouldn't take long. I can go through a list of, actually, Gemma and Chris's, I think I took 32 group photos at your wedding. It took me 35 minutes. I took in total 764 photographs during that, and I take that many photographs. So one of the things that these Fujis will do is that they'll shoot burst mode, 11 frames a second, and I will flirt outrageously with everybody in the photograph. Gender's irrelevant because I'll get a completely natural smile, all of that nice laughing kind of thing, and I just keep pressing the button down. Group photographs shouldn't be stood there ultra straight. Put your hands in your pockets. If you've got a drink, absolutely fine. Ladies, do a little bit of a pose, stick your hips out. Just enjoy the moment. USB. Really cheap, and I don't even know, this is, it's either a USB 2 or it's a USB 3. It's certainly not a USB-C, which is what the latest iMacs, the latest Windows laptops use. So number one, if you got a wedding package and you got a USB in the past 3 or 4 years, that USB is out of date when you buy a new computer. So basically it's crap, it's useless. One of the things that I insist constantly about is printing. I'm not quite sure when my mum was married, probably about 1965 perhaps. And let me show you one photograph. That's a photograph of my grandparents. Everybody apart from my mum, and I'm not quite sure about my father because if they're divorced, he's dead. That's why we print. It's a link to the generations. I've got photographs in here of my aunties before they were married, of their partners, that their kids probably haven't seen. So when their kids see them, it's that link to the past. To me, it's no point saying I'm a photographer and I think that prints are really important and you bang on about prints and albums, etc. if you don't give them something. Albums are not expensive, include them in your packages. And it sounds like I'm preaching, and I am, but it's about being passionate about giving stuff to couples so they can physically hold, not a bloody USB key. A perfect couple is somebody that gives me the time to do what I like, the time to do what they're paying me to do. Don't get stressed when things start to go minor wrong, that appreciate the value in what I do and the value in the albums and what the albums will do. A perfect couple for me is somebody who appreciates the hard work that goes in, buys me Jaffa cakes first thing on the morning, gives me a great big hug, makes me a cup of tea. The worst thing for me, and this is why I turn couples down, is a bride or a groom who want to be very, very controlling. Weddings don't run like that. A couple who are more interested in the party, perhaps, and just use the excuse of let's get married when actually they just want to get shit-faced, and please keep that in. You know, I don't want the bleep on that one. That's the kind of couple I'll turn down. And yeah, and I know people want to get merry on their day, but there's a time and place to get absolutely trolleyed when you're paying somebody up to £2,000 to do a job, plus a videographer, another, I don't know, £1,000 plus, and you're wasting their skills and talent. It's not about a party, it's about love. Yeah, that's what pre-wedding shoots are for. I think the easiest thing to do is meet for coffee, get to know each other first, meet for another coffee a couple of weeks later, and literally just leave the camera on the table in front of them and talk about it, talk about what the camera's there, so they get used to the camera. And then it's going through that whole thing of, so when we're going to take some photographs, have you got a bad side, have you got a good side? What don't you like about yourself? So there's a little bit of coaching from me that goes on to them to try and understand their personality, which again is not wedding photography, but it goes into that coaching background that I have to understand them as a person. And it could be things like, I've got a bump in my nose, I have a vein over here, I've got a little award, whatever. It could be anything. They can all be reduced, perhaps in Photoshop. How you pose people is a massive thing. So again, it's coaching, turning sideways rather than just face on. There's loads of little tools and techniques to help things like that. And those pre-shoots just help. And if you need more than one pre-shoot, crack on. It just helps me get to know you as a couple more. I have 4 cameras, so 4 bodies, multiple lenses, so I've always got a backup. One of the reasons I chose Fuji when I was doing my research, I can get one of these Fujis fixed within 3 days. I can send it off on a Monday, I'll get a text on the Tuesday morning saying, we've got your camera, and the Tuesday afternoon, there's another text saying, we've repaired the camera and it's back. If they can't repair it, they'll take another couple of days to send me another camera, and I'll get it back by probably the Wednesday or the Thursday or the Friday. Other than that, there's a whole lot of other people that have Fujis or have Canons and I'm familiar with them that I can say, actually, I'm really desperate. I've had my car robbed, that kind of thing. I need some cameras. And at the end of the day, that's what a credit card's for and hire companies are for. Fuck aye. Oh, you want something more than that? Do I enjoy what I do? I think all you need to do is look at my Google reviews, to be perfectly honest. I love what I do. I have a presence at weddings. You know I'm there, but I'm there in the nicest way. I like to interact with people. I like to enjoy myself. It's my working environment. And when I look at sort of the HR legislation, you know, my working environment is as important as somebody working in an office, working in a factory, and I want to enjoy it. And that's why I get couples who appreciate what I do and put the value and the effort into doing that kind of thing. I absolutely love what I do. I spent 3 years in the civil service from the age of 17, 18, 19, 20-ish, and it was sort of an introduction to working in an office. Yeah, it was all right. I joined the army and I spent 12 years travelling the world and having a fantastic career in the army. I did lots of really interesting things. I then left the army, became a telecommunications consultant, working for the likes of Alcatel, Ericsson, Nokia. Enjoyed that. I started doing HR, management, leadership development. I travelled all over the Middle East with that, all over Europe doing that. Wedding photography is one of those jobs that gives me that sense of I'm doing something that's leaving a real legacy. My mum's album, 1965 give or take, so 50 plus years. These albums are going to be around for probably about the same, 100 years plus. Not many jobs where you can say I can leave a legacy that literally is timeless. Biggest part for me about my job, whether you're in a church or you're doing a civil service and the couple is at the front and they're looking at each other and the registrar or the vicar is reading from the notes and I'm looking at them and they're whispering to each other, or they're winking, and those eye contacts that they're giving them. Nobody else but me sees that. Nobody else but me sees those little hand squeezes that goes on. That's an absolutely fantastic, honourable thing to be part of. And that gives me that really soft, warm heart feeling that I'm there as part of that day. I'm seeing things that couple are never going to share again with anybody else, and I'm the one that's capturing moments like that. And how can you not enjoy being part of that? I've got a venue I enjoy working at, and it's no coincidence that it actually is the venue where we're doing this. It's Marriott St Pierre Hotel and Country Club. I've been a preferred supplier there possibly about 10 years, I think now. I like the venue for a lot of reasons, and that's what I look for. So in a wedding venue, I look at different things rather than a couple. So in a wedding venue, I'm also looking for what happens if it rains. We live in a climate now where we seem to get all 4 seasons in a day sometimes. Some venues are not cut out to handle rainy, cold, wet weather situations, they're too cramped inside. And if you've got a large wedding, 100 guests for instance, you can't put everybody inside and then still have space to do all the photographs. So I've got a venue I enjoy working at, which is St Pierre, but I look at venues differently. And I'll recommend venues if people want to talk about wedding venues and, you know, I want to go here, I want to go there. I'll give them an honest opinion, but I'm doing it from a photographer's point of view, not a couple's point of view. I've had a complete range of both of those. As a preference, I like to be by myself. What I do at a wedding is I like to do a same day slideshow, so all of my images get backed up constantly throughout the day onto my laptop, onto a portable hard drive, actually onto 2 portable hard drives, and then they're still kept on the memory cards. And the cameras, again, the Fujis that I use have 2 card slots, so there's 2 copies there. There's an extra 2 copies on portable hard drives, which is 4 copies, and another copy on a laptop, so I have 5 copies at a wedding. During the time when you're sitting down for your wedding breakfast, I'm backing all of that up, making sure I've got copies all the time and it's just in case. But I'm also starting to do the edits for your wedding. You're paying me to be there rather than sit on my backside having a break. Put them all in, same day slideshow, you get an idea of what the day looks like, your evening guests get an idea of what the day looks like. I couldn't do that and sit down and have a 3-course dinner with your guests, but it's rather nice to be invited and it's a big honour to be invited. I've had everything from a homemade hand-packed lunch with my own little cool box that mother of the bride has gone out and made me, and sandwiches, homemade sarnies, which is great, and again I've had that full 3-course lunch. It's nice to be fed. I'm going to be there all day for you. If I leave stuff in the car, I either have to bring more equipment, an extra cool box to keep it cool, or I need to bugger off to a local supermarket, petrol station, and I might miss something if the timings change, so please feed me. I'm always the first in the buffet, by the way. Maximum for me is 3 weeks, usually it's around 2 weeks. And again, part of me putting all of the backups on the laptops, doing the same day slideshow helps improve that workflow. So I like to get the images out within about 3 weeks, but in the height of summer I might be doing 2 or 3 weddings back to back for 2 or 3 weekends. That 3-week period is the absolute max. Album wise, that really depends on how long it takes for my couples to choose the photographs. So I don't choose the wedding photographs, my couples do. The quicker that they can get the images to me, the quicker I can get an album sorted out for them and designed. And the albums take about 2 weeks to come back from my album company. Where possible, I like to either meet the couple and hand the album over, or I like to hand deliver. I prefer not to package and post the albums. I order my albums in bulk, so I'll order 6 or 7 albums at a time, so rather than one album after another and you're getting all of that extra packaging, that kind of thing, I'll order 6 to 7 in bulk so they all arrive at one time. They don't come individually wrapped in that sense, they come individually wrapped in one large box. So again, it saves on all of the packaging. Posting something like one of these albums is about 25-30 quid to make sure it's going to get you there. And I don't mind doing that, but it's nice to see your face when I hand the album over, and it's one of those nice little things that I like to do as well. On a business sense, I look for their key account management of me and their customer service of me. So what do they fix? How quickly do they fix it when things go wrong? How quickly do they get the albums to me if I need something done in emergency? And emergencies happen, people sometimes pass away and you need photos, you need the albums back, that kind of thing. The technology for printing albums is pretty much standard now. The Canon Dream Labo printers is what every major album printing company is using. The binding is pretty much the same for all of the companies, that kind of thing. So all the techie part is pretty much standard. It's a bit like camera stuff, nothing changes dramatically. But it's the key account management and the customer service that I look for. It took me, the last time I swapped album companies, probably 5 years ago, I think. And it took me about 2 years to find an album company that I was completely happy with before I switched album companies. Yes, so people like magicians, DJs, singing waiters, videographers, I can certainly recommend venues, dressmakers, dress fitters, seamstresses, suits, based on 13 years of working with people who I trust, who I know will do a good job, and I'm looking at, again, what's their account management and customer service like towards their clients. It's not about the price, it goes beyond the price for me. Do I attend wedding awards? No. In my opinion, they are a complete waste of time as far as I'm concerned. A lot of the time you've got to pay to enter, and if you're paying to enter, you're paying to buy an award, and I know that's not going to fit well with a lot of other photographers. I don't do competitions for the reason that if I have a full order book, why should I need to bother about competitions? I think the industry is saturated, and I'm totally saturated with award-winning wedding photographers. And on a very possibly bitchy comment, you look at the work and you're thinking, what did they win an award for? And I've never been, as far as I know, not picked to do somebody's wedding because I don't have an award, I haven't won a competition, I've never been printed in magazines, etc, etc. I also think that a lot of the websites that advertise the top 100, the top 50 wedding photographers, etc, you only get on that list if you advertise with that website. So it's not really open and honest, it's slightly misleading advertising for couples who are looking at it, because they're not the top 100, it's just the top 100 who advertise on that website. And again, I don't like to do that. If people want to book me, you book me for me, not because I've won an award, not because I've paid to advertise on a website, and not because I've asked every single client to vote for me for some other award or competition. That's why. I think that if you do the award or the competition for you, and you do it for the right reasons, it's great. You do it for your own personal growth. If you try and do award after award, competition after competition for business reasons, I think that it's a waste of time, because your images start to look exactly the same way that the judges want them to look. So you'll go back, you'll have a look at what previous judges in previous years looked at from a photograph and think, that's what I need to do this year. So all you're doing is copying what the judge looked at last year rather than thinking about moving yourself on. If you do it for yourself and think, I want to improve my photography skills, my editing skills, my composition, my lighting, and that's what you do it for you, then competitions and awards are great. But doing it just to put a banner on your website and say, I'm an award-winning photographer, you're just adding to the tens of thousands of other award-winning photographers, and it devalues the fact that you won an award. Yes, buy me Jaffa Cakes, 10% discount. And that's my sort of famous Jaffa Cake discount. If you don't buy Jaffa Cakes, by the way, when we meet or when you book, you don't get the discount. I don't do the IOU thing. It's Jaffa Cakes or no discount, because I have to be fair to everybody. It's a same flat 10% discount if you're in the blue light services, so any of the emergency services, any of the HM forces. So that includes sort of the RNLI, police, ambulance service, the NHS, things like that. They are not accumulative, so you can't sort of get a 10% discount if you buy me Jaffa Cakes, an extra 10% discount if you're in the military. I do need to pay bills, and as a previous question, people think my prices are cheap anyway, so I can't keep taking money off them. The other sort of discount that I do is sort of after you've booked, part of that is if you want to pay the balance up front within 5 days of booking, there's an extra 5% discount that goes with that. So the maximum discount you're going to get from me is 15%. The booking fee, and it's a flat £300 booking fee, is non-refundable, because that basically means I go onto my online calendar, I block the time out, so anybody else that comes along to my website, checks the date, sees it's blocked, is not going to get in touch, and I will turn other people away. The rest of the fee goes into a separate escrow account that you can get back in the event that you do cancel your wedding, and the contract has got various cancellation terms and things like that included as well. So I don't keep all of your money and refuse to give it back. Pretty much me. My wife helps, and again I think it's very important with partners, so sort of tying that in. When I run my workshops, my business focused workshops, I encourage partners to come along because they're part of setting up a self-employed business. The vast majority of the work is done by me, so I do my own website, I do my own editing, I do my own album design, I do my own tax, my own accounts, I log into my own HMRC. And by the way, if anybody's from the tax office is looking at that, please make the Gateway website easier to use. It is an absolute pain in the bum. You'll be asking for DNA tests next just to prove to get in. So everything is done by me. On the website front, I've been doing geeky stuff on websites for a long time, did it in the army. I use WordPress, and it allows me to get your images online a hell of a lot quicker than asking somebody else to do it. So for instance, Nicola and Rob, whose wedding I photographed at St Pierre Marriott yesterday, their blog images were online, I think by about 11 o'clock last night. So because I do my own website, I can get them up quicker, which means I can share them with the couples quicker. They're going on honeymoon, but they've still got their images to be able to see and remember what the day was like. I think running your own business, you have to do a lot of different hats. And it's one of the hardest things about running a business is keeping all of those hats on. And you do it to keep the costs down. Otherwise, you need to spend a hell of a lot of money paying other people to do it. Princess Anne made me a cup of tea. And I know that sounds really strange. Princess Anne still is the Commander-in-Chief, I think it is, of the Royal Signals, which is my main unit that was in the military. And she visited the unit when I was in Germany at the time. And very typically military this, you're all sat there and you have to show off a little bit. And Princess Anne, if you've ever met her, she's an absolutely down-to-earth woman, completely down-to-earth. No airs graces when she's with the military, but we were sat there in what we call our noddy suits, so nuclear, biological, chemical warfare suits. The only thing we didn't have on was gas masks, respirators, but we had all of the gloves and we're doing that kind of thing. And she comes along, she's having a chat, and she's walking around various places, and she's followed by an entourage of senior officers and a regimental sergeant major, who is God. And she comes along, she's having a chat with me, and she said, "How do you feel?" So, to be perfectly honest, I'm, doing the job. It's really awkward in this kit. I'm feeling, it's really hot. Anything you need? And I sort of jokingly said, "A cup of tea." And she said, "Yep, that's absolutely fine." And she starts to make the brews for the guys that were there. And apparently you don't ask royalty to make you a cup of tea. That's part of the etiquette. So the regimental sergeant major just behind her going, "And this is the number of extra duties that you're going to get, Corporal Miller, for asking a member of the royalty, to make you a cup of tea." But she was absolutely fine about it. So she made me and I think it was 20 odd of the guys a cup of tea, and she was absolutely fine doing it. Jen did, no shit. I got shitloads of extra duties. But you just shouldn't ask if you don't want. Yeah, she went away and made tea. It was fab. And I've met her a few times since then, and she's one of the most down-to-earth roles you can possibly meet. Thank you very much for watching. I hope I didn't bore you too much, and I hope I did manage to answer all of the questions that I was sent via Facebook and PMs. If you do have any other questions, just drop me an email, andrew@andrew-miller.co.uk. You can contact me on WhatsApp 07891408266. Contact me on Facebook, Andrew Miller Photography. There are 3 of us. I am the one that's most handsome wedding photographer. Basically look for the profile picture with the very grey hair. Instagram, Danica, you're the only one that messages me direct on Instagram. Keep doing it, I don't mind. See you in November for your wedding. What else? And that's it, just get in touch. I'm more than happy to meet. If all you want to do is just chat about weddings, even if you have no idea on where you want to get married, that kind of thing, it's what I do for a living, and if I can help you narrow it down to think, I'm not the one for you, I'm quite happy with that. The problem with Jaffa cakes, mind, is that you can only eat a packet at a time. I'm not going to do a whole bloody packet of Jaffa cakes unless Ashley has got cheddars. And there is only one way to eat Jaffa cakes. Totally clipped. Don't ask because I don't share. It's going to be quite nice though. You're going to keep that going, oh. I do like Jaffa cakes. I had them for breakfast actually.